My father demanded I attend my golden brother's wedding, threatening to cut my tuition. They were shocked when I revealed I earned more than him. My older brother Derek was always the golden child. Perfect grades, varsity football captain, got into Yale, became a lawyer at some fancy firm in Manhattan. My parents threw him a graduation party with 200 people when he finished law school. When I graduated with my computer science degree from state school, we went to Applebee's, just the four of us. My dad spent the whole dinner talking about Derek's new job and how proud he was. I tried telling them about the app I'd been building with my roommate, but dad just nodded and changed the subject back to Derek's starting salary. He made $95K right out of school, which was genuinely impressive. My parents wouldn't stop bragging about it to everyone. Meanwhile, I was making $60K at a small tech startup, living in a studio apartment with a bathroom so small I could touch both walls at the same time. But I was also working on my side project every night after work, an app that helped small businesses manage their inventory and sales. Nothing fancy, just something I noticed restaurants and shops needed while doing freelance work in college. By the time Derek's wedding invitations went out, my app had 50,000 active users and I just hired my third employee. I was pulling in about 180K a year between my job and the app revenue. I hadn't told my parents because, honestly, they never asked. Every family dinner was just updates about Derek's cases and his fiancée Amanda's wedding planning. 6 months before the wedding, my dad called me, said I needed to be at the rehearsal dinner, the ceremony, and stay the whole reception. Can't have people asking where you are, he said. It'll look bad for the family. I told him I'd try to make it work, but I had a huge investor meeting that weekend. 3 venture capital firms wanted to buy my app and I'd been preparing for months. Dad didn't even let me finish. This is your brother's wedding. Nothing is more important than family. You'll be there or I'm done paying your grad school tuition. Here's the thing though, I wasn't in grad school. I dropped my plans for it a year ago when my app took off, but my parents still thought I was enrolled because they never actually listened when I talked. They were still sending me tuition checks every semester that I'd been depositing into my business account. I tried to tell them multiple times, but dad would always interrupt with something about Derek, so I stopped trying. I decided to skip the investor meeting and go to the wedding, partly because I didn't want to deal with the drama, but mostly because I wanted to see what would happen when they realized the truth. The rehearsal dinner was exactly what I expected. My dad gave this long speech about Derek's accomplishments, how he's already being considered for junior partner, how Amanda comes from such a good family. Then he looked at me and said, and we're proud of both our sons, even if one is still finding his way. People actually laughed, like it was a joke. Amanda's dad asked what I did, and before I could answer, my mom jumped in with he's still in school, getting his master's degree, still figuring things out. I just smiled and let it go. The wedding day was beautiful, I'll give them that. Derek looked happy, Amanda looked gorgeous, and my parents were absolutely glowing with pride. During the reception, my dad stood up to give another toast. He talked about hard work, success, and building a future. Then he said, Derek's starting salary was higher than what most people make after 20 years in their field. We couldn't be prouder of the man he's become. Everyone clapped. My uncle Tony, who actually paid attention to my life, leaned over and whispered, you gonna tell them? I shook my head, but Tony wasn't having it. He stood up with his drink and said, that's real impressive, Derek. But I gotta ask, how does it feel knowing your little brother makes almost double that? The room went dead silent. My dad's face turned red. He started to say something, but Tony cut him off. This kid right here built an app that 50,000 businesses use. Just got 3 offers from investors. Lowest one was $2 million. My mom looked at me like I'd grown a second head. That's when Derek actually stood up for me for once. He raised his glass and said, is that true? I nodded. He started laughing and said, Mom, Dad, why are we just hearing about this? Amanda was pulling out her phone, already Googling my app name that Tony had mentioned. Her eyes went wide when she saw the articles about it in tech magazines. My dad just sat there speechless. After the toast, my parents cornered me by the bar. Dad demanded to know why I never told them. I looked him straight in the eye and said, I tried to tell you at least 10 times. You never listened. You were too busy talking about Derek. Mom started crying, saying she had no idea, but I wasn't letting them off that easy. You're still sending tuition checks for a program I left a year ago. I told you I dropped out to focus on my business. You said that's nice and asked if Derek told me about his promotion. Derek came over and apologized, said he never meant for things to be this way. I told him it wasn't his fault. He couldn't control how they treated us differently. My dad tried to hug me, but I stepped back, maybe start asking about my life instead of just assuming I'm failing. The rest of the wedding was awkward, but honestly, it felt good to finally be seen.